Hi friends, it's Tiana here today, and today we're sewing another free pattern. This time we're sewing this beautiful top right here. It's got these big flowy sleeves, it's got a yoke and this flowy bodice. It's got a placket in the back where you close it up, and it is woven, which I love. I got this fabric from my local Walmart for 2 yards for $4, so $2 a yard. So for $4 I created this beautiful top. This top can be found at Tiana's Closet.com, and it's called, I think it's Basalie. I'm not really sure how to pronounce it, but I'll add all the information on the box below so you can go ahead and go grab it and sew it up with me. I'm also going to try to put in some information on how to print and put the pattern together, because I know some people have a little bit of issue with that, but I had no issues sewing up my garment. This is a size medium and it fits me perfectly. I actually fit into a size medium for other ready-to-wear clothing from the store. So I thought it was a great fit for the whole situation. On this pattern, on this video, I'm going to actually line the yoke, which they didn't have great instructions on how to line it, so I'm just kind of winging it. But you can also do it unlined and put binding at the neck. This is another option. I do have that option. I sewed up that option on my Instagram channel. It is on my highlights, so if you want to check it out, follow me on Instagram. I'll attach the information below, but that's at Ezra. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and let's just get started.
Alright y'all, here's a little quick speedy video on how I cut up my pattern. I went ahead and cut all the sides like it showed me on the paper, even the bottom. But the bottom I only cut a tiny little bit so it would match up together when I put it edge to edge. And then I used tape to tape it together. This pattern has layers, so I printed it from Adobe Reader. I downloaded to Adobe Reader and I chose the layer option and I printed my size. Like I said, I'm making a size medium. All right, so we're gonna get started. There is an option for lining, and it tells me to cut 2 for lined, but it doesn't really say how to do it on the instructions. So I'm just going to kind of do it how I think it's gonna go, and then we're gonna go from there. Now, if you're not lining it, you want to go ahead and finish the raw edges, so that way when you put it together, you have some nice finished raw edges, especially for the back here, because what you're going to do is you're going to place them right sides together. This is the 2 back pieces, and you're gonna sew about 2 inches down from the top and sew them together, because once the seam allowance is open, you're gonna fold this over and this will be stitched down and this will be sewn like this, because this will be open for you to have your little drawstring here, not drawstring, your little elastic here, so that it's an opening for your neck area. So you want to finish these raw edges, because if you are not lining, they will be open like this and they'll start shredding. So you don't want to do that. So anyway, that will be the first step if you're not lining. And then once these are sewn together, once the edges are sewn and serged or whatever you want to do, finished, you're going to place them right sides together, like I said, at 2 inches, and then back stitch and go all the way down and sew that closed right here with the seam allowance. Then you will open up the seam allowance and you will top stitch down, over, and up to create like a little placket here at the back. Now I am going to go ahead and line, because I don't want to put I am drawing blanks today on my words. I don't want to put binding at the neckline, so I'm going to line it. So I'm going to do it a little bit different. All right, since I'm lining, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 2 fronts, and here's my 2 backs. And I'm going to place them right sides together at the shoulders first. And so here at the shoulders, my liners and my outer pieces. So it's just a little bit different than if you weren't lining. But one thing I did not like about this top, and I'm going to tell you now, is that the neckline was a little bit high for me. So I went ahead and when you were binding, the neckline was ended up a little bit high for me. So I folded the binding down at the end towards the inside. But I'm hoping that making it lined will help kind of go down a little bit and you'll fit better at the neck. So we'll see. I'll let you know at the end of the sewing tutorial how it all fits. So if you want to catch the end before you actually start sewing to see anything that I have to say about it. I'm gonna go sew those, and I'm just gonna use my sewing machine, and then I'm gonna use the serger over it. Sometimes I don't serge over the seams that are gonna be on the inside of the garment, so it's up to you if you wanna finish it up or not. I may not, but I always like to sew over the ones that are not going to be on the inside of the garment. All right, the shoulders have been sewn together. Another thing that I want to sew together is here on the back pieces. I'm going to go ahead and sew them starting about 2 inches away from the top. And I'm going to sew back and forth right here on the liner and the outer as well. I'm going to do that real quick. All right, and then I'm gonna open that up. And as you can see, here's my opening, my 2-inch opening. It's sewn here in the back and it's sewn at the shoulders. I'm gonna open that seam allowance and you can go ahead and steam it down. See how that seam allowance, I'm just kind of opening it this way as well, because we're gonna sew that together with our outer. Now we're gonna place our liner right side up or outer right side up, either one, and then we're going to place our other one right on top, right sides together, and we're going to sew that neckline. So match up those shoulder seams. Around the front is just going to be right sides together, and it should just pair up nicely. Then around the back, we're going to go, I'm going to open the seam allowance here because we're going to sew that together, the seam allowance. And I'm going to open it up so that I can sew down and get to where I started and then turn and sew up. So I kind of catch them both in there. You could have done that first and then sewn them together here. They don't really give you instructions, so I'm just kind of doing it how I find it easier to do. All right, let me go sew that together. While I'm sewing that together, I'm gonna grab my bottom piece, my front and my back, and I'm gonna put a basting stitch here at the top. The bottom doesn't get lined. It's only the top that I'm lining. So I'm only having one front and one back, and put a basting stitch here at the top so I can end up gathering this down to fit my bodice. So I started there at the bottom and then I go up using that seam allowance to guide me up. And when I get here to the corner, I'm gonna turn and go all the way around. And back here to the front. Again, I turn, to the back and go down. For my basting stitch, I'm just lengthening my stitch to a 5, and that's all I'm doing. Leaving a long tail at the beginning and a tail at the end so I can gather. All right, I'm gonna grab this bodice. I'm gonna snip at the corners. And if you want to put a couple snips at the where the neckline is, don't cut your thread though. And then you can flip it and give it a good steam. You know what I forgot to do? Oh well. Oh wait, you also want to clip right here where it turns. I'm going to clip this seam allowance down here where I'm going to turn. I forgot, before I sewed back here, you could have added your little elastic. Put your elastic here between the two pieces so that your elastic would be tucked in there. The elastic that's going to create the closure for the button. So now you know the mistake I made, so you can go back and do it and not make that mistake like I made. I'll just put the elastic on the inside so you won't be able to see it either. But it will just look better if you put it on the inside. If you put it like before you sew it together. So like right here on the back, if you had placed that elastic between the two before sewing it on, right sides together, then you would poke it out here and you would have your little loop elastic here to put it over your button that you'll put on this side. Instead, since this will be my right side, the outside of my bodice, I'll just stitch my elastic to the inside part, and then you'll be able to see the back of the elastic here, which is not ideal, but it's not that big of a deal, so we'll just move on. I could just take that stitch right there and put it in, but you all know I'm just moving forward. But now you all know, for when you make yours, you don't make the same mistake I made. Now, the liner and outer will be used as one piece here and at the sleeves. So I'm going to find my half on the front and the back. And I'm going to grab my bodice bottom and gather it. If your machine already, if you already gathered it, I upped my tension, and that's why it gathered a little bit too much. So I'm going to open it up, but you're going to gather it the width of that top bodice. Here's my half point right here, and then we're going to attach it right sides together. And when I attach it to the point that I marked, when I attach it, I'm going to finish the raw edge so it doesn't, you know, come apart. All right, let's go sew that up. All right, we're going to next attach our sleeves, but what we're going to do is, there's these little notches on it. We're going to put in a basting stitch so that we can gather that sleeve to fit into our arm side. All right, we're gonna open this, and it's looking super cute. We're gonna grab our sleeve right sides together onto the shoulder seam here where that top of the cap is. Got that. And then I'm gonna go down to the side of my sleeve here and attach that first. Not attach it, but pin it first. Going all the way up to where I have that mark where I started my gathers. Because what I'm going to do is I'm gonna pull my basting stitch to gather the rest of it to fit. You have a little bit of gathering here at the top. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. And then I'll do the same to the other sleeve. All right, let's go sew them. And when I sew them, I'm also going to serge it because I want that raw edge to be finished. Now the next thing to do is to fold them right sides together and sew the side seams. So I'm going to meet right here at the armpit seam, and my iron is over there screaming at me. And go down the sleeve and then go down the bodice. And I'm also going to sew it first, and then I'm going to serge it. After this, all we've got left to do is just hemming. Oh, and attaching the button and the elastic at the back that I could have just fit in there and it would have been already done. Or you could actually, what I may do is I do have like a, I think it's called hook and eye enclosure thingy, the ones that like go like this. I could sew one of those on there. I might do that. All right, let's do that. All right, for hemming, you could finish up that raw edge, but you can do that, or you can do a fold over 1/4 inch, fold over 1/4 inch, and that's what I'm going to do. And then just top stitch with your sewing machine. All right, here's what I was talking about. I've got this little kit. Ooh, stitch shut. Get it open. Probably should have done this before I came on here. All right, hopefully they won't bust out and go everywhere. And I think I'm gonna go with the lighter ones. So it's got the little hook thing and the little loop thing, and so they just kind of hook into each other like so. So you sew one to each side, one on one side, one on the other side. And I just spilled them all. I was trying not to. And then so I'm just gonna sew the up by hand, because to try to figure out the stitch length and everything, and to try to place it on there without it moving as I'm trying to zip it up, oh my goodness, it's gonna be way too difficult. So I'm gonna do it by hand, and wish me luck, because I do have big hands with big fingers, and so sometimes doing little tasks like this can be just a bit aggravating. Here we go. My first task is to find an actual needle. Here's some thread. 3.5 hours later, I found my needles. Just one, please. Thank you. Someone actually told me to lick the needle instead of the thread when you're doing that. I just did that and it worked. I don't know if that's true or not, but it worked for me. All right, so here's my back. This is the wrong side of my back, and that's what I'm attaching it to. The wrong side. One goes on one side and the other one will go on the other side. Told you that was gonna be hard. Oh, where did it go? That took surprisingly not that long to find. And here we go, we're gonna try it again. All right, my one side is done. There it is. And now we're gonna sew the other side, and we're gonna sew that hook face up so that it clasps on there like when you put it on. So I'm gonna put it right here on this side and sew it on. I honestly don't know if you guys can see anything, because I can't really see what my camera is seeing right now. So I could be like way off and you guys are just like sitting there in silence, wondering what's going on. All right, finished. Now they hook right there and they're done. Now you could have made them a little bit farther in so you can't really see them, but that looks good enough for me. Now I'm gonna try my shirt on. Can't wait.
All right, friends, we are finished. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. It was super easy to sew up. I actually really enjoyed it. I have no like modifications that I made to it. Everything sewed up pretty well, and yeah, I hope you sew it up with me. Comment below and let me know if you've sewn up this pattern before, or if you've sewn up any other patterns from Tiana's closet. I have not. This is my first pattern from there, but I was browsing her site and there is a ton of free patterns, so you may want to sew up some other ones, but don't forget, subscribe to my channel, because I have a ton of other free tutorials on here and I'm always posting new ones and you don't want to miss out. I hope you have a great rest of your day and I'll see you next time. Bye!